Hello, and welcome to another episode of Now About That with James and Sarah. On this episode, we will be discussing our opinions on financial insecurities and the issues with the job market. All of the information included in this episode is purely opinion based and is based on our two experiences only. So we'll just start off. Again, my name is James,
And I'm Sarah.
um, and this is really just kind of more of a laid back conversation that Sarah and I are going to be having on what we feel like is meant when you say financial insecurities. We'll talk a little bit about our own experiences with financial insecurities, and then we'll talk about the job market a little bit too right now. So first, I will say I'm a little bit more fortunate in the last couple of years where for the better part of 2019 and 2020, I was in a pretty good financial situation, because I was working on an assignment where my company that I worked for paid for a majority of like my living costs, and then the rest of my income was to pay for like if we wanted to go sightseeing or something like that. Um, Whereas now in 2021, I moved to a new location where the company, it's just my base salary that I have to cover for all of my housing expenses and stuff like that, which I shouldn't be griping about because that's how most people live on a day-to-day basis. Um, it's just the issue is when I moved to where I currently live in Rhode Island, um, I should have asked and pushed a little bit more for higher pay than what I was given, based on the information and the research that I did about the actual cost of living in this area. I asked for a specific salary. I won't disclose what that salary is, but the salary that I was given was about $10,000 less than what a year annually than what I asked for. And I'm now starting to suffer those ramifications because I'm starting to have to live on my credit cards because rent is more than the one check I get per month. And my credit cards are getting kind of up there on their balances, so I'm starting to get rough. Um, my partner Ryan, has finally gotten a job, which is nice. So he's starting to work and add to the income, but he works part time at a as a sales associate in a store, so he doesn't make that good of money. So it doesn't really add too much to the income. But that's how I think of when I think of financial insecurities. To me, it's, are you making enough to pay your bills and be able to do things that you want to do? Um, and I know that's kind of a first world problem where I'm very lucky to be able to pay my bills, um, even though I don't have enough money to do things that I would like to do, like travel and save up to pay for or to actually purchase a house, because that's one of the hardest things right now. And one of the biggest issues I had with moving back to Indiana from California, I had a whole big plan in place where I was going to purchase a house before we moved back to California or back to Indiana. And then that kind of fell through because I was required to come back to Indiana earlier than I wanted to, earlier than was in the original plan as well. Um, so to me, if I am financially secure, it looks like having enough money to pay my rent, pay my bills, pay any of the expenses, have a car payment, which I know it's not necessary to have a car payment, but really, unless you're able to save the money to put down for the car that you want and pay out cash, you, at the end of the day, have to have a car payment. There's no getting around it unless you're going to buy a car that's worth like $3,000 and then have to pay to have it fixed whenever it breaks down every month or so. I have a car. It's a 2017 Ford Explorer. Nothing great. Could I have gotten a smaller vehicle for cheaper? Yes. But I'm also living in a climate that I wanted something that was all-wheel drive, that had a little bit more room for when we do make trips back to Indiana to visit family and things. Um, but that's my take, like I said, on financial insecurity. So Sarah, we'll give you a minute to go through your take on financial insecurity.
Um, Well, I've always been financially insecure. Um, so for me, financial insecurity is the inability to function essentially without having to receive some kind of help. Um, so when we were in high school, I almost never had money for lunch. So it ended up being that um, my friends, depending on who was sitting with me at lunch that day, would like share their food with me. Like, um, and then as I got older and I got married and I was working a lot, and I was able to do some traveling and have some fun, but it always came kind of at a cost, and I had to wait until I got my tax refund back to be able to do it. Um, and my husband wasn't working at all pretty much the entire time that we were together, except for like maybe a year or two in there. Um, so for me, being financially secure is being able to take care of myself without having to like ask somebody, hey, can I borrow, you know, XYZ so that I can pay this bill or that bill. Like, and currently I am on the complete opposite end of where James is in that um, I I got COVID um, in December, at the very end of December, which pisses me off, um, of 2021. And I haven't been able to work since because I don't have the capacity anymore to work on site. And my job was as a pharmacy technician. Um, and like, even though I still have my job, um, my short term disability ran out. They don't offer long term disability. And so I'm just on leave of absence, which means any money that I might get from accruing vacation time or whatever, it automatically goes towards my insurance so that I can stay insured and continue to like go to the doctor and whatnot.
I mean, that's a little bit of a positive. It sucks because you're not getting that money back and paid out, but it enables you to maintain insurance to cover your bills for going to the doctor and those types of things. I have to say, I don't think I could. I don't know how I would be able to do what you're, how live how you're living, and I don't mean that to sound like a negative thing or like
Dang, judgy much?
I don't mean it to sound judgy if it's coming across that way. But I can't imagine myself in that situation, and that's what kind of that that's kind of where I am now, where it's like if something were to happen, I would be completely screwed. So if I were to like have a really big vet bill for my dog that I would have to pay, or have something go wrong with one of the two cars that I have, I would be screwed because I don't have the funds available to pay for those things. Um, and I would have to use either get a loan or use my credit cards, which are pretty close to being all used up anyways. Um, and I hate living like that. So much so that it's going to kind of transition us into our next topic about job market and looking for new jobs. Sarah, you're trying to find remote work or jobs where you don't have to work in at a facility. Um, I'm I'm not really looking for a new job right now, but I am looking and reviewing potential opportunities if I were to need to move into a new position because I'm not making enough where I currently live to um, sustain my way of life that I've grown accustomed to over the last 3 years. Um, that I'm going to have to eventually move into a new position. I mean I love the place I work. I've gotten to do so many things with the company I work for. Moved to California for a year, almost 2 years. Moved to Rhode Island now. I've gotten to do so much with the company and build up my career with this company that if I were to move to a different company, it would suck because I built up a reputation at the company that I live or I work for, where we're a global company, and there are people that work in like Ireland or work in a different country that will come to me and ask me to help them with something. And to me, I don't feel like I'm recognized enough for what I do for my work. And this, I know it's, you can say what you, you always see it a specific way, and your view is different than other people's view. I understand that, but when I look at and I discuss with other people, even my coworker currently, and she's technically my boss now. She feels the same way. She feels like I'm not in the position that I should be in. I should be in a higher position, and I should be getting compensated for what I do. But there's really the fight there is, and this is a fight that I've had to deal with for the past 6 years in the position that I'm in. I know I can do the job. I'm great at what I do. I always try to master, become the subject matter expert or SME of anything that I am given. So any job that I'm given, any system that we use, I try to learn everything I know about that system or everything there is about that system, so that I can be the person that is like the go-to. I think that's my, was it Capricorn? I'm a Capricorn. I think
Yes.
I'm a very driven person, and I always want to be the person that is able to fix something or show show someone how to do something. Um, I honestly I don't know if I would even attribute it to the fact that I am a Capricorn. That's just who I am. I have control things that if I can have it in my control, I would rather be able to do it myself, um, and help someone with something rather than make them have to figure it out themselves. Um, I I train. That's my job. I train people, so I will show them how to do it. But I like being the one that is the go-to person to have that. And I feel like if I were to move to a different company, it would. I don't think the company would see it as that much of a loss, which kind of sucks. Um, but to me, the abilities that I've mastered and the items that I've kind of become, like I said, the subject matter expert over the last 12 and a half years I've worked for the company, it it feels like it's a waste of time, or it was a waste of my time, my energy, and because they're not letting me move on.
Yeah, I can see that. A lot of it is definitely because you're a Capricorn, um, being an Earth sign. Um, so for me, the job search has been just trying to find something that I can do from home. Um, I I tell people I went from being a workaholic to not being able to work at all. And what really sucks is I had actually started finding some financial security. Like I was finally able starting to get to do things, um, and be able to save money. And I had over $1,000 in my savings account at one point, which was a big deal for me. And then this happened, and everything just kind of went to shit. Um, but the thing is that I'm running into, and I've complained about extensively to James, is that um, using some of these job boards, such as LinkedIn or Indeed, um, has been a nightmare in that so many companies are listing themselves as remote opportunities because so many people want to work from home, but the positions are not remote, like at all. There was one that even said in the um, job title that it was remote, and then I scrolled down and it said 100% in office. Like,
Yeah, I think that kind of talks to the misleading kind of clickbait, where it comes to they're putting something in there because they know it'll get more clicks on their position that they have open or their opening, but they're including the fact that it isn't actual remote, and they're saying, well, you'll be able to work from home once a week or once a month, so that's considered a hybrid or work from home opportunity. I think I agree, and I've seen where they've posted something and said this is a remote job, and then when I look at it, um, it says remote, but you have to be in Florida or Alabama. You have to be based in a specific location, which in that instance, I wouldn't consider that remote. Like,
No.
saying you're remote means I can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
And if I need to, so I kind of understand it from a business standpoint. And I'll say I went to school for business. I have a bachelor's degree in business. I'm not by any means a expert on business, um, but I can look at it from a business standpoint because I have been in a company for 12 years and I can look at it. I like to look at things from both sides of the aisle. From a business perspective, we're saying we want you to be close to the company in case we do need you to come in for anything. So if you are working a remote job, and we're based in Alabama, but you live in California, we would have to pay for you to come to Alabama to come into the office to cover whatever we need to talk about. But then you would argue, why couldn't we just do what you want to discuss remotely? Um, and since we've been doing it since 2020, the remote options have become so much better and so much easier to use that it doesn't make sense for there not to be a remote option for people. For that instance, like if for some reason like we were having a something that was on site only, you should have an option where there's a way to like mount an iPad to a robot or something and have it roll around. Do I think that companies should have to cover that cost? No, but then it's like, don't do if you have a lot of people that are remote and you're going to make yourself a remote only company or say that you have remote positions, then you shouldn't be hosting things that are fully in person only unless you're willing to pay for that person to come to your in person event. Um, and I think that's, to me, the business side of it. A lot of companies are like, well, we need people. If we put remote only or remote opportunities in the listing, we'll get more people to apply. And eventually, and this is probably a millennial thing, people are more willing to take a job if they're offered it, even though it doesn't match all their criteria or all their requirements, because they just need a job.
Yeah, which is basically where I'm at
Yeah.
right now. So, like, literally, right before we started recording this, I got an email saying that this company that I applied at for a virtual assistant position um, is willing to move forward with me um, with a start date of June 14th. Um, it's part time. The pay is $400 a week, and it's like that's nowhere near the amount that I've been trying to get, which is $40,000. I'm I'm at the low end of things. So like I have been working as a pharmacy tech making about $33,000 a year, which is not very sustainable. And most of the time I can't afford things. So to me, $40,000 a year is a lot.
And this is the reason I'm not going to say how much I make, because I make more than that. I always feel bad when I hear, oh, I make $40,000, and I feel like that's enough. I'm like, I don't see how I could live on $40,000 a year in, and I'll say it, in the lifestyle that I've grown accustomed to over the last 3 years, which isn't an extravagant lifestyle by any means. I just think I've I've gotten to the position where I make a certain amount of money, and I've been making a certain amount of money for um, over $60,000. Well, no, over $50,000 for almost 6 years now. I've been making that salary annually for almost 6 years now. Um, so I've grown accustomed to not having to live below that number. It's sometimes it is rough, $60,000 with all the insurance I have to pay, my taxes because I am in a higher tax bracket. I do have to pay higher taxes. Um, I also have this is my own personal issues where I pay for the bills for some of my family members. So like my brother and sister, or no, my sister, my father, and my nephew. One of my nephews are on my cell phone plan, so I pay for all four of those cell phones plus my Apple Watch on my cell phone plan. So for me personally, it's probably like $80 a month, but for the entire bill, it's over almost $200 a month that I pay for a cell phone bill, and I only use one cell phone and an Apple Watch. I could remove the Apple Watch, and it would be $70 a month because it's only $10 for a month, $10 a month for an Apple Watch. But because I have basically volunteered myself to give them a cell phone, pay for their cell phone every year, and that's been I want to say since 2013 I've been doing that. 2016 is when I started having all four of the cell phones on my phone plan. But then until this last month, I also paid my dad's car insurance and paid for him to have insurance. His insurance was my insurance, so we were included on the same insurance plan. Um, I just paid it the monthly premium and never asked for any money from him. Um, but since I moved out to Rhode Island and I can't afford to pay both insurance premiums anymore, um, I asked him to start paying it, and he actually, I don't think he would ever have said no. I just hadn't really ever asked him to. In the last 3 years that he's worked for the company that I work for as well, he's making enough money now that he's able to, where before he wasn't making enough money to pay his own bills and pay his own bills, um, including insurance and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm a head of household, even though I don't qualify for that tax break because I don't have any children and I'm not married. I don't get the tax break saying that I'm a head of household, um, and get reimbursed that for the year. But I am technically the head of a household where there are two people living here. I make the most money, pay for all the bills. So I pay the rent, I pay the electric, I pay the gas, water, everything like that. I paid the monthly insurance premium for both of our cars. Um, and I'm not saying I did it all myself. Like it's again one of those control things that I should be working on, um, where I want control of it, and that's why I have the bills in my name and I pay all the bills. Um, I've done it myself. It sucks that I've done it myself, but I feel like I I don't know. It's just weird. But from the jobs hunt standpoint, I'm not really looking for a job. I have an alert set for a specific position on my phone on LinkedIn. So if something comes up, I get an alert and it tells me that there's a new job posting, and I'll go in and look at it and weigh my options. But even right now, I can't leave the position or the company that I work for, until a specific time, because they did pay for me to move to Rhode Island. Um, Anything they paid if I leave before the year that I moved here, then I would have to pay it back. So if I left, I would have to pay it back, and it's quite a bit of money, and I can't really pay it back.
Right. Nope. I'm just taking whatever I can get at this point. Um, Tying kind of into the financial insecurity has been um, not just my job hunting, but finding housing. Because currently I'm houseless. I am a homeless person.
A member of the unhoused
Community.
community.
Um,
It's the PC term, and we no longer say homeless.
um, so trying to find assistance for just existing um, is really rough. So I guess going back to what does financial security look like to me, it's viable options for housing and living, um, and opportunities to be able to work and live comfortably. Um, be able to pay my bills, be able to take care of my health. Like, um, what was it? Right before I ran into um, all these issues where my short-term disability had ended and whatnot, I had a tooth issue that I had to go to the dentist for, and the dentist was outside of my network, um, but were willing to work with me on a payment plan and whatnot. And so I had agreed to do that because I just desperately needed something to happen with my tooth. And so they got in there and they started doing a root canal, and realized about partway through the root canal that they were not able to complete it, that it was going to have to be completed by an endodontist. So then I am like, okay, let me see if I can find an endodontist in my network. I call the endodontists that are in my network, and every single one is saying I have to pay $500 or $600 up front, despite the fact that my insurance, they're in my insurance network, um, before they will do anything. So it's been almost 3 months since the doctor put temporary stuff on my tooth, and I still haven't been able to go to the endodontist, to get it taken care of.
See, that's a whole other conversation that I don't understand about. It's like if I'm paying an insurance company a monthly premium and I need to go to the doctor, my monthly premium should 100% cost whatever I need to. Whatever I need to go to the doctor for. Like, there's absolutely no instance in my mind where an insurance company would be saying, we can't approve the coverage of that cost, even if it's the whole out of network conversation baffles me. And my coworker, she's having the same issue where her insurance doesn't pay. Like, she just had to have her and her daughter just had to have some pretty big surgeries recently, and she's having to cover like over $10,000 worth of just her own insurance or her own payment that the insurance wouldn't cover, because it's expected that you have co-insurance. Which, why would I need co-insurance if I'm paying a monthly premium, or ours is, it comes out of our paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
So if I'm paying a premium for my insurance, why would I need to get another insurance to supplement what I'm paying for? If I'm paying, and when I look at mine, it's $180 a month. More than that, it's $97 every paycheck is what I pay for my insurance, and that includes vision and dental. Um, so it's like, if and I have the highest insurance that you can get with the company I work with. So it's like, and I don't know what insurance she has. I'm assuming she probably has the same thing. But it's like, if I were to go to the doctor, I have a deductible that I have to pay, but I also put in an extra amount so that my company that matches the amount I put in, it would pay for the deductible using my flexible spending account. So I don't actually have a deductible if I use my flexible spending account. So everything in my eyes, or from what I can tell, would be covered as long as I'm within the network or going to a doctor that's approved by the company I work with, or the company that insures me. Um, that being said, I don't know that that's the truth. I'm one of those people that I don't go to the doctor as often as I should. I really should go to the doctor. But I I don't, so I don't know how my insurance works. So I'm basically paying. I've been paying for 4 years now this expensive insurance that I don't actually utilize. So over the last 4 years, I've been paying this insurance money, and then if I ever go to try and use it, the money that I've been paying for the last 4 years doesn't matter because they won't cover. They may not cover the procedure or the item that I need to go to the doctor for. I don't think that's a thing that should be okay. Like, I,
Definitely agree
I
on that.
don't understand that.
I don't either.
It's like you shouldn't be telling me what you're gonna cover. I'm paying you to do a specific job. If I need it, I've been paying you for 4 years. You shouldn't be able to deny it unless it's something that is like purely cosmetic. Like if I wanted to go get an eyebrow lift or something cosmetic like that, yeah, obviously I would be expected to pay for that myself. But if I were to need on my broken leg, if I were to need corrective surgery for my broken leg that happened when I was 16, my insurance company shouldn't say, well, you have to pay this amount of it because we won't cover all of it. When I've paid $90 every paycheck, more than $90 every paycheck for the past 4 years. Is that enough to cover it? Probably not. No, but I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be on the hook for that because the healthcare system is so broken in the United States that it costs $20,000 to have a surgery. And when you look at the cost, the breakdown of the cost, you're paying $4,000 to stay in a room for an hour.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't have to pay $4,000 to stay in a room. I understand working in the medical industry, a medical adjacent industry. There are things that it costs to sterilize. That's an expensive cost. It costs to pay the nurses to redo the bedding and stuff like that for that room. Um, but it shouldn't. That should be a known cost that should be included in the recovery, and the it shouldn't be that extraordinary amount of $4,000 to stay in a room for a couple of hours.
Yeah, it shouldn't be on the patient as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's not something the patient should be paying for. But I mean, it just, it's like you said, the healthcare system here in the United States is so irreparably broken at this point that we all just think it's normal to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars. And other countries are like, no, that's literally not how this works. That's not how any of this works. It would be cheaper. So I was in a car accident when I was in my early 20s and shattered the left side of my pelvis and one of my legs. And eventually, I will need to get a hip replacement for my pelvis. The thing is it would be cheaper for me to get my passport, get a round trip ticket to Spain, go to Spain, have the pelvic, like the hip replacement, recover in Spain, and come back than it would be to get it done here in the United States.
I think I saw something on TikTok or YouTube or something the other day where someone did something like that. They already had their passport, but they paid the ticket to fly to another country, pay out of pocket for the procedure to be done, stayed and recovered in that state. And I want to say it wasn't Spain, but it was I don't remember what country it was, maybe Denmark or something, where they were able to stay in that state or that country and recover and then come back, and they still paid half of what they would have paid for the surgery, even
Yeah.
with insurance.
Yeah. I was reading about someone who was working in Japan who's an American citizen, and they were like, I have to go to the doctor. I'm really, really sick. So they went to the doctor, and the person waiting on them was like, oh, I'm sorry, since you're not a Japanese citizen, you don't qualify for the insurance coverage here. So I apologize for the cost. And she was like freaking out, thinking, oh my God, it's going to be so expensive. And it was like $8 USD for her to see the doctor. I don't remember if it was actually $8, but it was really low.
It was a small amount.
It was a very small amount in comparison. Whereas, I've been doing this long COVID study where I have to go to see different doctors, trying to figure out what to do to help me recover from long COVID. And it's, even with my insurance, one of the things I had to do was $50, like, for it. And like, it's $50, it's $20, it's $20, it's $20. And like, I have to see these people regularly. So it just builds up and builds up and builds up. And I have no way of paying it because I'm not working. So it's just like this endless cycle of stupid medical bills and all this other stuff. And then trying to like get out of debt so that I can like live.
See, that's the biggest thing I'm worried about. Me, over the past 8 months, I've incurred so much debt because I've been having to use my credit card to pay for things, small things like the groceries, because of my rent and all the other bills I have to pay eat my entire paycheck, that now I've gotten so much debt that I'm going to have to try and dig myself out of, where when I moved here, I had maybe $4,000 in credit card debt, which is still a lot in credit card debt, but now it's like double that almost, more than double that. And it's, how am I going to be able to get out of that credit card debt that I've now accrued over the course of 8 months, or 6, 7 months? But that does kind of bring up a good so we can make it a little bit of a light note. So basically what we're doing with this is saying, anyone that has a job that could meet Sarah's needs, reach out to us.
Yeah, no joke.
We have and I keep forgetting to give you the password and stuff to the podcast information so that you can go and upload stuff yourself on our Instagram. And
yeah, like the picture I took earlier of us trying to figure this out.
Yeah, you need to send it to me so I can upload it to our Instagram. So those types of things where if you have those things, or I know, Sarah, you're working a lot and trying to get information as much as you can on like LinkedIn and those types of things, but like it's I want to use this as a platform for us. I eventually would like to start actually getting paid to do these, because right now we're not getting paid anything to these. This is just a fun thing for you and I, as like an added income, where it's something that we do on a regular basis, which we can't take a month off like we did this time. But I'm looking at possibly looking into doing some endorsements and some commercial type things where we'll break every now and then for a small commercial break where we're talking about a company, but I'm being very selective in what I choose. But I'm going to give you I'm giving you the account information so you can look at them as well. So we'll look at them as well in a little bit, but I'll also give you the account information if you're like, well, let's do this one too. They're little, like, Jesus. Nice, Sarah, that was you. It's through the podcast app that I signed up for, or paid for, which was $99 for a yearly subscription. There's a way to sign up to do these endorsement deals, or have like an in-roll ad rolled through where you can select it. You basically present your idea to the company that is looking for a commercial or an endorsement, and you pitch your idea, tell them how much you want for the per episode that the endorsement or the ad's going to run on, and then they approve or decline, accept or decline your proposal. So we'll look at that a little bit today or tomorrow, probably today since Ryan doesn't get home for a little while. Take a look at them, see if you see anything that makes sense to you. One of us can record it, and then we'll add it in as a enroll ad or begin it before ad, because there's different options before, after, in the middle. So there's different options we can look at. But I think, to me, do a wrap up, because we're almost at an hour. Do a wrap up of financial insecurities. To me, like I said, if I can't pay all the things that I need to pay, and still have money left over to put in savings for things like if I have an issue with Bobo, my dog, where I need to take him to the vet and pay a vet bill, I'm not having to put it on a credit card. I would have to make so much more money than I do now to have that type of savings, that I don't know when or where that's at, where that's gonna ever happen. Um, so I'm just hoping it doesn't happen, and it's kind of scary because he is 15 years old, so it could happen any day. I'm just hoping it doesn't. So putting out good vibes that it doesn't. He's been in great health, which I'm very happy about, and he has an issue, but it's manageable right now. So we're getting through. I do worry that something's going to happen and I'm not going to be able to pay for it.
Yeah, I get that. That's me. Worrying about me on a regular basis.
I don't see how anyone can say, "Oh, America's the best country in the world," where some of your citizens are living, even making okay money, but
Still living in poverty.
they have to worry about what happens if my dog gets sick, or what happens if my car breaks down. I think, thankfully, I mean, I do have, with the loan that I got, I do have for 3 years of the car, um, a maintenance program where I can take it somewhere and I'll just have to pay like a $500 deductible, but that's still $500 I have to come up with. And if it's something that's not covered, then I'll have to pay out of pocket for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, America, get better. People in your country shouldn't have to live the way that some people do live. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying and I'll say this, I am in no means in a bad position, but I am in a position that it could get hairy if something were to happen.
And I'm in the position where it's already gotten hairy because something bad happened. So.
I thought this was going to be a lighthearted episode where we were going to talk a little bit about our experiences and have fun, but it's kind of gotten a little bit dark where we're telling America you suck. And okay, let me change that. I don't think it's America you suck. It's America you can do better.
I think it's
You do suck, but you can do better.
the people who run the country suck because they don't actually care about the people. They'd much rather waste their time on controlling certain people's bodies than actually taking care of people that are already here.
That's the thing. Also, I mean, and we're getting political again, and I just said in the last episode we wouldn't get political every time. But one thing I would like to kind of point out is, if you're in like the Senate or the House of Representatives or presidential, you make enough money to where you shouldn't be talking for people that do have to live paycheck to paycheck, because you don't know what it's like anymore.
If you ever did.
I mean, one person that I could say I kind of identify with most, and I think a lot of millennials do at least, AOC, or what's her name? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I see AOC so much that's all I call her. But Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez she's the closest to kind of like how I know I've lived, where she's like, she went to school, she fought for everything she has. She is fighting for, what I understand, from what I see, she's fighting for a healthier, cleaner, more comfortable way for people to live, and it's everyone, not just those people that make millions of dollars every year or hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, that they're able to live comfortably. She's fighting for the person that makes $40,000 a year to live comfortably and not have to worry about what happens if I get long COVID, or what happens if I need a tooth fixed, or what happens if I have a 15-year-old dog that needs to go to the vet but can't get vet insurance because he's too old. Those types of things that's why I really like AOC. And I think that people like Ted Cruz and even Mitt Romney, who's a little bit not as crazy or conservative as Ted Cruz, but he's still not great. Those types of politicians don't have any room to talk for the little person or the people, because they are so indebted to big corporations, because they paid for their seat at the table. They paid for their campaign. They bought them. I hate saying it like that because they do work hard. I assume, I don't really know. Based on taking a trip to Cancun when the whole of Texas is frozen. Don't do that. Don't be stupid. Even if it's your daughter wants to go, don't be stupid.
He just blamed his daughter because he was getting all the backlash.
I think, like I said, I think that's why I identify with AOC the most. And I really like her. She talks about things that make sense to me. And I can see from both sides where it looks like she's a little bit of an extremist, because she is pushing for things that do spend money, but you can't say that you aren't okay with America spending money when you're okay with them spending it on military, where it's trillions? Is it trillions of dollars now?
It is trillions of dollars.
It's in the trillions, and you're saying for Medicare, Medicare's too much, but you're okay with spending trillions of dollars on the military, and the argument there always is, and I always do this where I say it, but then I'm like, the caveat or the other argument is, well, we have to pay our people of the military. It's like, yeah, we do, but that's not, like, if you look at the salary that goes for people in the military, that's not what the bulk of that defense fund goes to.
Oh yeah, no, there's homeless veterans all over the place.
Yeah, and that's the argument as well. It's like, veterans come before immigrants. It's like,
no, they don't.
I mean, they should. Everyone should be treated equally. I mean, I do agree. I think we should make sure veterans have enough, but it should be the same. Like, you shouldn't be looking at, oh, well, the veterans aren't getting it, but these people are. It's like, well, not why are these people getting it? Why are they getting it before the veterans? It's like, why aren't the veterans getting it as well?
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be, well, these people from Mexico are being treated well. They're not being treated very well.
No,
like, they're
not.
held in cages and those types of things. And it's like, yeah, we have homeless, unhoused veterans. That's not something that a Democrat did. That's not something that a Republican did. That's something that a broken country has done, and something that a country needs to look at. Our country needs to look at and say, okay, we're putting all this money into something, but what of that money is going to actually help for those unhoused veterans?
Right.
I think we're gonna take a minute, probably call it a day for that, because my dog again needs to go out. And I'm glad you guys, if anyone is listening, thank you for listening, and I appreciate you sitting with us through this, and we look forward to having more conversations in the future.
Yeah, what he said.
All right, thanks, you guys.